This was actually my 5th time coming to Morocco when I did my Fulbright experience. The first time I came was when I was 15 years old, and I kept coming back. The culture never fails to surprise me of the generosity of Moroccans. I think I didn't realize how important family was until I spent time here, especially living with a host family. But specifically during my Fulbright experience more recently, I think 2 things that stood out to me the most. First, the generosity. If I ever said, "I love your necklace," they would say, "Khudi, take it, it's yours." Like, everyone was just so willing to give what was theirs, and I think that's something I really admire about Moroccan culture, just the servant leadership or the generosity to give what everyone has, regardless of how much. I even had a student once gift me a bracelet that her mom gave to her. Like, it's really, it's so incredible to see that level of generosity that I think Americans can learn from. Secondly, something specifically that I noticed more in my most recent experience in Morocco was the high level of English in Morocco, specifically from peers of mine who didn't study English formally, but rather learned from online media, like places like Morocco News, where because of the globalization of English as a language, I've been really impressed to see how many Moroccans speak English fluently. And being able to build on that in my classes was a really great experience. I'm super excited that today I'll be speaking on the panel Navigating the Job Market in Morocco, and I'll be leading a workshop for the first half of the panel talking about how to pitch your story. A lot of the time we see, especially with successful people, that they don't actually know how to talk about the skills that they have. So this is something I've done with my students at Hassan Al Awal as well, where my students know what they want to do, they just don't know how to talk about it. So even with exceptional Fulbrighters like we have with us here today, I'm going to be talking about the elevator pitch. So how can they, in 60 seconds, sell themselves? How can they identify what's their career goal? And then how can they articulate the skills that they gained from their Fulbright experience in the United States and then market those skills in the Moroccan workforce? And the exciting thing as well about today's event is that today we're going through the different steps about how they can translate that experience, and then at the end of the day, they'll have the opportunity to meet with 150 partners of the Fulbright organization and get to practice their pitch on the spot. I think that the partnership between the United States and Morocco is a special one, as we've all talked about, that Morocco is one of the United States' oldest friends, and something that I've gotten to see through my work with Moroccan students in coordination with the consulate, for example, is an interest in both of their affairs. So, for example, I did a confidence building workshop with Dar America as part of my Fulbright experience, where I had students identify what parts of Morocco would they like to see changed, and then how can they pitch that as a policy idea. And they got to present that to the Consul General herself, which was a really exciting opportunity because they got to have an authentic conversation about what are their priorities for Morocco, what are the United States priorities, and then how can they help each other. And something that I've also seen in my students is this passion for English learning, English speaking, and this innovative design of how to teach. I think the United States has a very different educational pedagogy, and I think that the more that we train Moroccans, have Moroccans learn from different professors, and the more that they can continue to teach Moroccans moving forward. So, for example, the friends that I have that did Fulbright abroad are coming back with these very different ideas and are challenging other Moroccans on how to think innovatively. And I think that if we can make this a partnership, not give and take, but rather how can we both benefit each other to create more innovative strategies for the future. I think especially in Morocco, entrepreneurship and creation of new businesses is a great way to address the relationship. As I mentioned, I first came to Morocco when I was 15 years old, and thus the lessons that I've learned from Morocco have stayed with me for over 10 years. So I think the 2 main things I've learned personally as lessons from Moroccan culture is to be patient and adaptable. I think that when I first came here, I expected things to go a certain speed, for things to work a certain way, and very shortly after I began, I found that you have to adapt and you have to be patient, not only with at what time people arrive to events, but also to adapt with the resources that you have available. I think professionally, I've also come to try to integrate the Moroccan culture of checking in with people saying labes a million times, asking about their family before you move on to the more professional things, because I think a lot of the time when we focus too much on the professional, we lose the human connection. We actually don't get the best work out of people. So I've tried, as in my work in the United States, to really start all of my meetings with a, how are you? What's on your mind? How's your family? Because I think when we speed past that, we end up getting kind of half people that aren't really ready to contribute to their work because they don't feel supported. And so something I found in Morocco, especially as a new professor, is at Hassan al-Awwal, I had a really great teacher support network that was allowing me to ask questions and to check in and have those human-to-human connections so that I could create innovative designing programs for my classroom. After completing my Fulbright experience in Morocco, I wanted to stay here so bad, but I realized that there were skills that I didn't have yet that I needed to get in order to come back and contribute to Morocco's development. So, for example, currently I am pursuing my master's in public administration at Columbia University at the School of International and Public Affairs in New York. And I'm specifically studying education, international development in North Africa because I really want to come back to Morocco. And what I've done to kind of raise Morocco to the level of conversations is just constantly talking about it in class. When I have people from all over the world, I'm constantly bringing examples back to Morocco's workforce. I wrote a paper about workforce and gender in Morocco. We were talking about development plans for the future. And so I think bringing Morocco to the center of those conversations is important. And secondly, I think that a way that I can continue to stay involved in Morocco's development from abroad is literally just through the legacy of my students. The best part of my week is when I get text messages or emails from my students. I had one student text me the other day saying, Professor, I won a public speaking competition in English. Or I had another student in one of my workshops, I helped them develop their pitch and then send it to people on LinkedIn. And I had 2 of my students actually get work and study visas using that pitch. And I think one other example for my students is just how they talk about, because of you, I want to be a professor, or I want to work harder in my classes, I want to study in the US, and I even help them write their essays for applying to grants abroad. So I think the biggest impact on me and on my students is just having that cheerleader in the United States to support them in achieving their dreams, and then also for me to be able to have a better understanding of Moroccan culture through my students, through my friends, and through Darija, which I am still trying to integrate into my life. And I will say, although I am American, I think people learn more about Morocco from me in the United States. For example, there's an Arabic coffee house near my house, and I always go and I try to speak in Arabic, but I speak in Darija, and they're Yemeni, and they're like, please speak in English. Like, I don't understand you. So trying to integrate Darija into my daily life and find Moroccans in the United States is my way to stay connected. But inshallah غنرجعوا للمغرب في المستقبل حيت توحشت المغرب بزاف، وإن شاء الله غنرجعوا ونشوف كل أصدقائي وكل شيء.